let's build for a different component. Let's build for an account, how we can create an account. And let's do that as well. So we can come here and we have classification resource. Let's have, we can actually duplicate some functionalities. I can go ahead and just rename this and create the same thing for accounting period. All right, that makes more sense. I'm thinking we can do that. Let me try and do this again. We can do Control C, Control V, and we have this copy. We can rename this to accounting period resources. Yeah, that is the name of the folder. And here we need to rename this properly, so we can, let's first come into just here, and there's a problem because there's a repetition. Sorry, let's come back here. I would resolve it ASAP. So here is inside accounting. No, this is not the one, so I don't do the wrong. Let me just get this correct so I don't go inside the wrong element. So let's go to the designer first, and we have this. So here I'm sure I'm inside the appropriate one, so we'll change this to accounting period resources. That is one. That should have that displayed properly, but it hasn't. The designer is recognizing that change, but the internal class, I'm not sure, is recognizing that change where we have implemented most of our functions and our services. So let's see what we can do with that. Let's go into the code behind file here. Yeah, that is it. So this is, we're going to change this to just pray I'm sure I'm on the right one. Accounting period resources, like that is what I want, and that should have our forms properly raised. So let's come back. I think I've done a mistake. Let me be sure that, all right, that is good. That is good. Let's go back in here. All right, let's do this. Let's delete that out. Just delete this. We could get that right again. Let's delete that out, and let's do something else. Let's this is not going to render because there's a problem. So we will actually rename this that particular file. Let's rename it. Rename this to accounting period, accounting periods. Whether that renaming will work properly. That is not ideal, but I'll go ahead and do it. Let me see if that causes a problem or not. It causes a serious problem. Obviously it is. Yeah, it does. So let me see if I can actually undo that. Let's delete this out. Does cause a serious problem. Alright, so we have that returning back to normal. Let me check that the code behind file is actually appropriate. Yeah, it's I know that would actually affect this. So let's rename this to account classifications, not accounting period. This account classifications. That is the correct name, and I like that to rename every other component properly to that. And that is the proper name for that file. Alright, it's intact, it's not broken. Code behind file, it's the correct name. Alright, let's do this one more time because this is a bit tricky, so I'm gonna get it right. So the very first thing I'll do, let me copy this first. Copy this and put it in here. And while you're in here, we'll go through every file in here. The very first file I want to check is change this to accounting period accounting period resource. Right, that's the first one. The second one is, I just want to be sure that accounting period, that is good. The designer file is good. The actual resource itself should, okay, so let's go there. And this is the other part of it. So here we'll change this to accounting resource. Accounting resource. Oh, accounting period resource, right? And let's see if we get that correct. Still not showing correctly. This is in the proper directory. This is proper directory. This is not loading properly. The resource file itself. So this, I'm trying to check out why this is. Let's just do this again. Let's go to the code behind file. Let's have a look at this again. Oh, this is accounting period. All right, so that is one. And another thing I'm noticing that we have to initialize form load when we already have form load event here. So we need to remove this one. This is not needed. And that should give us a perfect view now. Let's go ahead and, all right, that is good. So we have account classification. Let's check this one. This one is there. All right. And this one is there. All right. So this is the one I want to change. So here I want to rename this to actually be accounting period. So this should be accounting period. And that is what I want it to be. And we can go ahead and refactor this. That should still be there. All right, that is still there. So we can double click on it and we have accounting period. We can come in here and we have account classifications. All right, so the copying was successful. And it's good, we have them there. So let's go to the code behind and be sure that in the accounting period, let's double click this and go behind it and have a look at it. I think there's a problem with that. But we can close this and close all this, close all tabs. Yeah, and save it. Let's open this again. Let's go to the code behind this. All right, this is good. Accounting period is good. Let's be sure. That is good. We have that in there. So let's go there and actually rename this properly in properties. We'll go ahead and rename this to accounting period. What we did it? This shouldn't be accounting classification, it should be account classification. So this is accounting period. Let's change the name to accounting period, and everything there is the same. So we changed, I'm coming back here. Just noticed something. This should be account classification, not accounting classification. So let's come to the properties and change this to account classification. All right, that is better, not accounting classification. All right, so that is ideal. So we have accounting period, and if you check out the accounting period data object, we have begin date, end date, and we have is current property. And actually the is current property cannot be mutated outside. It's a whole process on its own. So let's build that. So first we have two dates and start date, end date. So here we can change this to one of the text boxes to remarks, obviously. And by the way, let's add another row because we have start date, end date, and remarks. I think so. I think that is what we have: start date, end date, and remarks. Okay, we don't need another row. So what we'll do here is we will have the classification code. Let's rename this labels. So this one, it will be remarks. Some form of remarks can be there. Then here we can have, let's pin this and here we can have let's collapse this so we can have more room. We can have start date, and we can have end date, and we can also have here we can have start date. And those are the properties we need for our accounting period. And accounting period, we don't need the combo box, and we don't need this. We can actually, I think we can change this. There was some functionality like that in the past. Obviously it's not there again, but there was a way we could change this to another control. Let's just remove this. We don't need this again. So for date, we have common controls. You have a date time picker here somewhere, date time picker, this is it. So we can drag that to the top here, and we can also drag another date time picker here. Now what we will do is we will specify what we should pick in the date. Maximum date is, minimum date is January 1975. That is not our case. We can limit the minimum date to something like we'll do that. Let's just allow that for now. Let's make sure that we don't pass 2020. So minimum date is 2020, and maximum date can be anything. All right, that should be it. And that is one. We can also decide that we need this to dock at the bottom like usual. All right, that's what we did, and that is good enough. And likewise, this should dock at the bottom, so we can have both dates docked at the bottom. So let's give the date a proper name so that we can reference them with ease. So we can have DTP start date. That's what I will do. And here I'll give it DTP end date. DTP end date. And here I can change this to text remarks, and that is all I need to do. All right. And some form we can make this remarks multi-line. I think there was a functionality there. Lines, multi-line, true. Yeah, so meaning we can actually increase this so it can be more room to type. All right, and that is basically our accounting period. And here I want just the date to be selected, nothing more. So we can specify the date format. There should be some room. Yeah, we can specify the date as short date, just short date, and we want this to also be short date. And we can actually specify a custom date format. If not short date, we can specify what date format we want, but let's keep it at short date, and that is good enough for us. And let's go to obviously there will be errors, so we can go to the code behind file and have a look at this. So here we can form state, just make some minor adjustments. So here we can say we don't have this again, so what we will do is we can say this dot DTP start date dot enable, and we can duplicate that and delete this, and DTP end date dot enable equals to the state that we want, and that is one. The next one we can clear is the bindings. So here we can actually say that start date DTP this dot DTP start date dot data bindings, and it's the text property we want to bind to. So let's be sure that a date time picker actually has a text property. Let's go and check that out. Let's select this, and obviously it has value not text property. There is no text property here, so we'll bind this value property to what we want it to be. All right, so we can come back here and change this to value property. All right, And we can duplicate that for end date as well. So you can have that for end date. And bind sources, we don't have anything to bind. There is absolutely nothing. And we can, on form load, bind controls. Actually, the form load event here has nothing to do, and we don't need any bind controls. Obviously, we do need bind controls. That is obvious, but we don't need bind sources. So another thing we will need to do is we need to have some renaming conventions, and that is vital. So here we are talking about business account classification, which will not exist again. Here we'll be talking about accounting period. That is what happens in this context. So we'll rename that to accounting period, and we can remove the business classification logic here and add accounting period logic. All right, so everything becomes accounting period. Here we can actually remove the business classification data object and replace it with an accounting period data object. That is what we can do with ease right now, and that looks better for us, and we are good to go. We're not that good to go because there's another thing that is missing. Here, the property here is start date, so we need to bind to start date. And the next thing here is end date, so we need to bind to end date. And these are actually date properties. All right. So here is remarks, not classification code, so we can bind to remarks, and that looks better. We have all the functions better, and we are good. But there's a problem when you load the form. There'll be an error because some of the method names actually have changed. So when you come here, when you come here, this may have a problem. Okay, fortunately it does not. Before now it used to. So we come to let's see that we actually bind properly. Accounting period events. We show the form load events. Is it proper? No, let's come here. Let's be sure that we are binding to the proper events. Alright, so we're actually binding to the proper events, and let's actually rename this events because it's not the form load. The event here is accounting period. Okay, that is correct. And let me just say something. What are we binding to here? We're binding to accounting classification load. Do we actually have that load? We don't. That will actually cause an error. No, we actually do have that load. We do. Okay, so here we can actually change this to accounting period load event. Accounting period load event, and that is the method. Then we should have a problem now. Let's check that. Does this? It doesn't. Let me check. The form load event does not exist for the accounting period, so we can go ahead and just select it, accounting period form load event. All right, that is good, and I think we are good to go now. I don't know of any other thing. Let's come inside our shell. This is our shell, and we have new as well. We had new accounting period, we had new classification. All right, so let's do the new accounting period. All we need to do is just come in here and grab this and put it here and make sure that this is accounting period, and that is good. And we need to add a reference to it. Yeah, accounting period resources, that is right. And we need to also include the accounting period in the program.cs file. We need to add it as a transient service. So we can come here and copy these two services and duplicate it like this and change this to accounting period. And put this as an accounting period. So we can go ahead and do this. Accounting period. And we have only for one, and that is the we didn't create a counting period, so we can go ahead and create a counting period before we proceed. So let's create a counting period before we proceed, and or should we solve one first? Let's make sure that account period is loading first instead of doing two things. Let's pick them one at a time. So here we have that. Let's go ahead and check if that brings out the account period properly. I was expecting this, so no. Let's see what's your error. I said no. So there's an error. Let's go check it out. Form account period. This is wrong. So this is this dot. It's form accounting period load. So that is the appropriate one. And we have changed that in the designer. I was expecting that sense, but it didn't come up. So we have that. Let's run a form and see. Let's run our application, sorry, and see what we get. So we have that. We can come to first. I'm not sure we tested this. Okay, this was good. So let's go accounting period. Yeah, there should be a problem. Cannot bind property or column start date on data source. Alright, let's go ahead and check why that is so. This is begin date, not start date. So I missed that. So let's go ahead and change that to begin date. I actually missed that. Begin date. Alright. So we can go ahead and run that again. So we come here, accounting period, and there's another one. Value of okay. Alright, so this is actually a good check, because in the net the default date is trying to load, but that is not the case here. And when I was creating these controls, I want to show you something. I want you to see that let's come to accounting period. You notice that when I did this, we can check the properties here. Let's pin this. And here are the properties. So you notice that we specify that min date should not be anything less than 2020. All right, don't take and don't accept any value less than that. And when we are coming to our data object, the date time, the default date time is actually something else. So what we will do is I'll set this to a default date. Not default. I'll set this to a different time of date. So I'll say new date. I can give that new date, and here we would specify new date time. We'll specify when it should be. So I could say we could put 01. That should be 01/2020. Oh, sorry, it starts from the year. So let's do 2020 01/01. Those are the default dates that we would specify. This doesn't affect anything we did with the API, so don't bother yourself. So those are just the default dates that our applications would bootstrap with, or we can actually specify the current dates, like today, like datetime.now.date. Let's just say datetime .now .date. All right, just do that, and let's do that and save ourselves any stress. All right, so we can go ahead and do that. Let's run this again, and we can see. Now you notice why we need. Okay, don't worry. Let me not complicate this learning experience. Let's just go ahead and follow it bit by bit. So we have that ready now, and that is running. That is running, so we can come here and say accounting period. Now we have our accounting period showing today's date. All right, and we can play with this. You can go ahead and adjust the date time picker. You notice that we cannot get any date outside 2020. You will not pass when you hit the date. When it's 2020, that is the minimum, like you can go back to. All right, that is the idea. That's what the minimum dates requirement does. So we have our accounting period. It's all good here. Let's create a list for the accounting periods. Then we can do the manipulations as usual. So here we can come back to our Solution Explorer, and we can hide this. Let's copy the classifications in this resource and go to accounting period and put them. And here we need to do the same thing. We need to come to the code behind file here and change this to accounting period. Accounting period resources. That is better. And we can just do that. Is good for us. And we can come in to the code behind file, which will actually not work, and change that to account. This is where we actually create new problems for ourselves, and change this to accounting period resources. Right, that is the right one. All right, and we can save this, and we need to remove this load because this is doubling what we don't have. We need to delete that out. So we can come to classifications again, and that will still won't load properly. Let's rename this. I think we can rename it now. Let me check the designer. That is good. All right, that is good. Let's rename this to accounting periods. Accounting periods. Like that is better, and we can say yes, we're good, and that is good. So let's come back here and see why. All right, so doing that renaming actually resolves the accounting periods for us. So this is accounting periods, and we can go and check that our accounting classifications is untouched. It's still perfect. So let's come back to accounting periods, which is where we are now. Accounting periods. All right, that's accounting periods. Here we can do some basic changes, and we can change this to accounting periods. So we can have the list of accounting periods, and that is good enough for us. And inside this, let's pin this one more time, and let's change this to list of accounting periods, or list of accounting period. All right, not periods. That's a proper thing, and that is good. So here we can change this to DGV. Let's rename the controls to periods. Accounting. And we can rename this the CMS to periods, self classifications. We can change the binding source as well to periods, accounting periods. And that is good for us. We are good to go. We have a full-fledged accounting period here. So we can go to the load event as usual. Let's open that up. Let's close this first. That tends to struggle. And let's reload it from here, accounting periods. And let's go inside it. Yeah, that is better. There was nothing with that. All right, let's continue what we're doing. So here we need to change business account classification service to accounting periods, like usual, accounts period. All right, so on this current document we can do that, and we can change the account period. We can change the account classification like that to service. Let's get that out of the way. All right, let's just do this first. Let's get this corrected. That is the correct reference. And here we can actually rename this to service. I don't want the long name thing. So here we can reverse this to service. So here you can put counting period service. So here it can be counting period service. That is better for me. And here you are talking about account classification. No, this is accounting period. Counting period. And here we are talking about accounting period as well. Period as well. All right, we're good for that. And here we need nothing. Delete accounting period. That works good. BCS. This doesn't exist. I actually changed this name to. Let's check this again because I actually changed this name to. Let's run this. Sorry, let's run this. Oh my gosh. Okay. I was a bit scared. Oh shit. I think we have a problem. I'm not sure I saved this properly. So this is accounting periods. Let's do it again. Counting periods. That is what we did. And save. That is good. So here should be list of accounting periods. Counting period, not periods. And that should be saved now. And here is CMS classifications. So here should be CMS counting periods. That is the name. And here should be BS accounting periods. That should be it. And we can close this. Close this. And let's run this again. Yeah, this is correct. And we can go to the code behind file and we should have all our namings conventions applied. Right, that is better. So we can come to our program.cs file and actually now uncomment this to make this available for utilization in the project. So we have the counting period and let's run this and actually see not none because in the shell I didn't tie the accounting periods here. So I need to specify that we need accounting periods and this is very good. We can come here and do this and here we can say that this is accounting periods. That is as simple as that and we can go ahead and do this. I noticed that we are doing some repetitions in there. Probably we should refactor that, create a method that actually opens a form and we call the method. So we have accounting period and that loads all the accounting period in our system. You see that? That is what I told you. So we have this and we have accounting period. Though they are not properly stacked up, we're going to format that to make it better. But that is the accounting periods we have in the system. So let's go ahead and format this grid to be better. We can come to account period data object. We need the begin date, we need the end date, we need the remarks, and we need the is current property that tells us whether this is current or not. All right. So let's come to accounting periods and format the grid. Here we need only the first column to be the visibility of the first column to be false. We need to change this from classifications. So let's come to account periods and change this from DGV classifications to accounting periods. And we need to do that and save. That is proper, so we can come here and see it's saved here as well. So here we need to copy this line of instruction and put it in here, and here I need to separate this. Here has to be one column 1, and here has to be start date or begin date. Let's use the word start date, and here has to be end date, and here has to be remarks, and the next one has to be current, is current or current. And we can have that, alright? We can have that, and that is good enough for us. Let's go back and load that grade and have a good look at what we have now. So it's alright, so we have start date, we have end date, we have remarks, and that looks very perfect. Remember that this dummy data, we had it when we were doing the integration testing, and we are connecting to the database we used during integration testing. So this looks better. This is what our accounting bureau is. You notice we can come in here and actually create a new one, and we can select the date to be something, let's say 2023 first and 2023 March, like that, 31st March, and we can say another accounting year like that, and let's go ahead and save that and make sure that entry is successful, and we can refresh this and we notice that is inserted properly. But there is something here in accounting period. We have edit, we can delete, that is nice, we can edit, that is nice, but something else is necessary here. We need to see a way of actually setting which is the current accounting period. All right, we need to add that as a functionality. And you should notice when we did the new, we had a new entry like that, and if we did the edit selected, we have the bindings correctly. And we can actually do a date selected, and we can say another accounting year updated, for instance, and change this to probably, let's make it June 30th and save, and we should have that there. So we have June 30th and we have that updated properly. And we can actually refresh that to make sure that that is from the database as well. All right, so you see the update works, the insertion works on the fly. So now we can go ahead and add more functionality. We need a way of actually specifying which is the current accounting year, which is an added functionality required by our system. So let's go ahead and implement that. And the first thing we will do, we will come to the grade design as usual. This is taking time. Let's hide this. Let's close this and reload again. And we can come to our context management, CMS, that is context menu, and we can add a functionality that says this time should be selected as current. Alright, so we can do that, set selected as current. Okay, so we can do that, and we can shift this up here, and we can add a separator as usual and put it up here. No, that didn't pick that. I'll just bring this down. Alright, so we can do that, and once this is clicked, we can go inside the code behind file to write an implementation for it, which means we need to grab the currently selected accounting year. So we can say var current, equals to this, and instead of saying delete, we can just say let me write this out so you can understand it perfectly. You can say account period dot current. All right, so we have the current one passed in there, so you can go ahead and call service dot set as current accounting year dot establish a current accounting. I think that is the right word. Establish current accounting period, and here we need to pass in the ID, so we can say current dot ID. That is basically what we need, and this actually returns a bool, so we can write instructions like this, like here. So we can come here and copy this and put it here, and we can come here and take this and inject it in here and save our result like that, equals to service.establish current, and confirm confirm accounting year change. Current accounting year change and counting period change, counting period change, and we say operation confirmation. Right, we can do that, and we can write counting period change successfully. Successful. But something just struck me right now. How about if the currently selected accounting period is actually the current one? So we can actually go ahead and check. Doesn't matter that. No need for us to do expensive operations that mean nothing. So we can say if current, instead of saying dot is current, if not is current, let me just use the word if not is current, then go ahead and perform this operation. If not so, you can message box, else you can just send out a message box, accounting period, selected accounting period, selected accounting period is the current account, is the current period. All right, so you can go ahead and do that. That's some form of logic to give our users a sense. All right, the system understands what it's doing, what it is doing. All right, so let's go ahead and run that, and let's implement that and see what happens. So we're actually testing out again that assuming someone else was the one that built the back end for our application, and we wanted to change it, and you're a different developer working on the front end. So these are some things you actually check to see, all right, does this work properly? All right, and so let's go ahead and do that now. And this looks a little bit small. We need to just scroll to see which one is current. We can actually expand this a bit, or you can actually make it fill the screen so you can have a good view of it. And we can come here and say, let's make this one the current one. All right. So, all right, first let's check to see that set as current. Selected accounting period is the current period. All right. So nothing happens. That is good. So we can say set as current. Confirm current accounting period change. We can say yes, okay, and accounting period change successful. And we can do that, and that is beautiful. But there's something we're actually missing, and let's go ahead and check. If we bring this again, we'll notice that that last one is the currently selected accounting period. There's a problem. I think my logic has a problem somewhere. Let's go ahead and check that because we need to bind sources. Establish current accounting period. All right, let's go and see what happens when we hit that. So come to accounting period service. Didn't we write a test for that? If domains.na. First of all is current. Return. No, alright, so I'm coming. I'm not sure we actually wrote down. Let's go ahead. Okay, I'm coming. Let's get save. If get all, where is current? If any, loop through each of them and set their property to false. Then update this. Alright, I see what the problem is. We actually did implement unit of work.save changes in this operation. We did not implement it. Alright. Okay, we did. So, update it. If that is the case, go ahead and get the required one and set the current property to true and update it in unit of work.save changes and return true. Did we test this? Oh, I think we need to check whether we did test this or not. We should go ahead and test. Did we? I can't remember if we did. Sorry guys, for those of you guys that are listening to this in the Windows Form series, this is part of a project we did in a previous series that is listed in our in terms of coding series, and not on this free series. Or I think we'll check that and be sure that this actually runs properly. Let's go ahead and because I don't know for whatever reason that we are not getting the correct one ticked, we need to make sure that the correct accounting period is always ticked. There's always an accounting period that's current. For now, let's close this. That looks like a perfect code. I don't know where the problem is. I'll go check it. We can go to the infrastructure again. I think since we are here, let's go check the infrastructure and be sure that we get this context.any. We can is current false of our current. This is not doing what it's supposed to be. If current is not null, then return true. Return true. Alright. And when we return true to the service, what happens? Return true to accounting period service. What happens? Accounting period service just goes ahead and oh my gosh, there's a problem. This is not alright, so I'll have this resolved properly, because there's actually a method that does this in a single stroke, and that is what we should have implemented. I don't know why we didn't do that. Probably an oversight, and I'm not sure we actually tested this. So this is not supposed to be this way. This is not. Alright, so let's comment this out, and we need to do what is necessary. Comment this out, and here we need to just say for result equals to accounting repository, accounting period repository dot establish current accounting period, and pass in the ID. And once you get the result, save changes, return result. What is the result? Tell us. And that's the only thing we need to do here. And sorry, let's go ahead, and I'm not sure we tested that. I'm very sure we didn't test that. It's an oversight. Let's go ahead and run this presentation again. So we have accounting, not this one, sorry. We have accounting periods, and we don't have anyone that is current. at the moment. So let's go set this one as current and see if that actually processes successfully. If that is the case, you see that change actually gets propagated beautifully. It goes in and grabs a copy, and we now have a currently selected account period. And typically, I always advise, if you're building a project, you can actually do the UI using Windows Form or if you do this, you could write a test with the UIs. It helps you do better than actually writing the test directly. Also, I think so. I feel it makes you refactor your application much better. But do not ever underestimate the power of testing. It's very good because that is very necessary. Alright, so we have done that successfully. We have actually changed that. If we can go ahead and try doing this again, it will tell you the select accounting period is a current account period. And we can actually revert that to a different accounting period, like select a current, like switch it again, and let's see what happens. And you see that is the current accounting period. That is beautiful. And by default, each time you're actually booting a system, don't worry, let's just get to that point before we actually cross it. Alright, so we have the current account period here, which actually should be reflected here. The accounting period, the current time, the current accounting period you're actually doing your posting. When we get to that point, I'll show you something else. So we have done for accounting periods, and the next thing we need to do for is our accounts. We need to see how to create accounting records. Alright.